Oh, what's this? The Army has updated its appearance and grooming standards again. Well, let's check this out. Oh. 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 You know, this has got me wondering. The US military has a very interesting relationship in regards to facial hair. I mean, look at all these Civil War generals, especially
Ambrose Burnside.
But that all kinda just went away. So I thought it would be interesting to talk about the history of facial hair in the US military, why it has fallen in and out of style, and where we really stand on the whole issue today. Join me, won't you, on this convoluted and oftentimes confusing history of facial hair in the United States military. So, during the American Revolution, facial hair was seen as a social taboo, and wasn't really accepted in many civilized societies, but especially not in the military. Under the military regulation at the time, you were required to be clean-shaven at least once every 3 days, which is kind of interesting to think about today. I usually have a 4-day work week, plus weekends when I have drill, and every day for work I shave, and whenever it's the 3-day weekend, I usually grow out for the full weekend. This is 1 day. No shaving. So the fact that during the American Revolution you could go 3 days without shaving, that's pretty interesting to think about. Now, obviously when soldiers were on campaigns and, fighting a war, it was okay to go a few extra days without shaving, for sanitary reasons, for, sometimes your arm might get blown off and it's kind of hard to shave. Sometimes even going weeks at a time without shaving. I like to imagine that even when conditions were absolutely horrible, there was still some salty officer that made his soldiers shave. What are you doing, Private? Trying not to freeze to death here at Valley Forge, sir. Uh-huh, I see. Wait a minute, has it been over 3 days since you've shaved? Why yes, sir. Conditions are, as you would say, not sanitary. Nonsense. Where's your razor? The doctor is using it to remove a musket ball at the moment, sir. Why don't you just buy your own? I haven't gotten paid in 2 years, sir. I'm afraid I'm gonna have to write you a counseling. As Manifest Destiny began to shift Americans more westward, a more rugged look began to take hold of Americans. Like I said before, proper sanitation and hygiene were, a lot of these settlers began growing facial hair while they were immigrating out west. But in the military, you were still required to be clean-shaven, especially if you were an officer. West Point in particularly had high grooming standards, specifically with facial hair. As for the length of the hair on your head, that didn't seem to matter all that much. So during the time of the American Civil War, that attitude began to shift. First with cavalry officers being allowed to have mustaches, and then full-on lustrous beards. Coinciding with the fact that you'd be on the move basically every single day, shaving every day wasn't really that important. We see this in the photographs of the time of soldiers and officers rocking various degrees of facial hair. Heck, even the president himself got in on the action. Having facial hair was also seen as a sign of authority, masculinity, and power. Think about it this way. Which one would you rather let lead you into battle? This clean-shaven child, or this mustachioed man? Though I wouldn't want him specifically to lead me into battle, just trust me on this. And another reason for the big spike in facial hair at this time was individuality. Yeah, I'm dead serious. The very thing that the military does not want you to have in the modern day was super prevalent in the American Civil War. Now, with all that being said, let's go through a slideshow of some of the greatest pieces of facial hair from this time period, because there's just... As America made its way into the 20th century, facial hair was still pretty prominent in the US military, but this would all change as a result of chemical warfare. Soldiers needed to have a good and proper seal on their gas masks, so forever gone were the days of facial hair. So if you want to know who's to blame for you not being able to have a beard, blame the Germans. Specifically this German. Now, over 100 years later, this answer is still given to soldiers for not allowing them to have beards. But the technology has improved during that time, and I personally have seen individuals with full beards being able to wear and do their job in a gas mask. But let's look at certain conditions in which soldiers may still be allowed to have facial hair, specifically mustaches, when they're in regulation, which is why they don't always look that good. I mean, look at my great-great-grandfather, Private First Class Billy Slater, when he was deployed to the Philippines with the U.S. Army during World War II. Seems like him and his buddies were rocking the deployment stash. Now let's look at my great-uncle Roger, who served in the Navy during Vietnam. He was rocking a damn good mustache, and even some additional facial hair with his fellow sailors. So the United States Navy actually used to allow beards back in the 1970s, but by the time of the mid-80s they were permanently banned. Thanks a lot, Ronald Reagan. I don't think it was him, but that's just fun to say. Now, if you found yourself deployed in a combat zone, it's not uncommon to see individuals with facial hair. They're usually special operations, yeah, like Chris Kyle, John Chapman, and even Tim Kennedy when he isn't exaggerating his military awards.
Per the source I have here, you have a Bronze Star with a V, is that correct?
Yep.
Then claiming that he didn't do that.
Never said anything about having a Purple Heart or a Bronze Star with a V device.
You have a Bronze Star with a V, is that correct?
Yep.
They've all rocked some solid facial hair on their deployments. But what about us regular military folk? Well, certain individuals could get waivers to have facial hair. Like if an individual has pseudofolliculitis, which affects mostly African American men, they could get a waiver that allows them to have facial hair. Individuals whose facial hair may be part of a religious custom could also get an exemption from shaving. But with recent regulations, we're going to see exactly what will happen with these military members that do have these profiles, especially the religious exemption one. Now, I certainly have my own personal views about this, but I'm not going to share them because I know nobody cares. Hi, I care. Shut up, you. Okay. Well, everybody, I hope you enjoyed this video. One thing that I hope that you take away from it is that things are always changing. If you want to check out some of my other videos, there should be a playlist somewhere on screen. If you like what you see, please consider subscribing and hitting that bell notification so you can be notified when I post. Be sure to use my discount code DustyB17 for 10% off all your orders at PlatoonDaddy.com, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Bye-bye.